Oh, Gerrard slipped and get the bars in here. It's Rodriguez again. It's a stunning ball.
What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to For The Fans, the 21st of March 2016. And following the lack of an episode last week, we are back today with a bumper episode special. We talk about the Champions League where two English clubs crashed out. We touch on the Europa League just a little bit. We of course have your normal Premier League recap. Ben has a feature. We have viewer questions. There's a lot to get through. Let's get into the show.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the Fans. Hello, we're back again. Joined as ever by Jack and Callum. Jack, how are we?
Decent. Yeah, I'm here.
Good. Callum?
Right.
Good evening.
Can we start again?
Right?
Where have I gone with this?
What do you mean, start again? We're in now. We're locked in.
I didn't know where I was going.
That's all right. We're into For the Fans. We're going to cover lots of different topics today. We're going to do a bit of Europe and a little bit of the Premier League. Well, we're going to do it in equal measure probably. But we're going to start off as ever with the feature. Ben, run the jingle. Right, hang on, boys. Don't say a word. Remember, we've talked about this. It's signing or sale. Signing or sale. Right. That's the feature today, right?
Signing or sale.
Signing or sale. So it works.
So you're going to show us pictures of boats and pictures of signs.
No,
we have to
don't
say
be daft.
No.
Don't be daft. Now we're going to do this in a system. So you can either go for a 1 point answer or a 3 point answer.
Ooh,
okay.
Like it.
It's a very complex thing. It's based around the signings and sales of Premier League teams throughout the last, 10, 15 years, since the Premier League began, I think.
I assume of the players of the teams rather than changes of the ownership of the teams.
Well, it's player based, so it's like you'll understand as we get there, Jack. Let me explain. I'll be the host here.
Okay.
So you get the option of a sale or a signing, and it's the most expensive sale or signing. Now, for 3 points, you can tell me the player, and I'll give you the team. Or for 1 point, I'll give you the player, and you'll tell me the team, because I think that's slightly easier. I think knowing the team that the player either sold or signed from is slightly different. Right?
Okay.
And I'm going to give you the team at random through our random generator. That's our generator. So we'll start with Jack.
Yep, I've got some redeeming to do after
last week was a disgrace. So so we'll start with you. Would you like a signing or sale?
The ones that are 3 points.
Well, no. Would you like a signing or sale? You get to pick this bit.
Signing.
Signing. Okay. Would you like to go for a 1 pointer or a 3 pointer?
I'll go for the 3 pointer, please.
Okay. Who is Fulham's record signing? You get one guess, and you can't.
Kasami.
Incorrect. The correct answer is Kostas Mitroglou.
See, I actually knew it was one of those obscure players.
I would have said that.
No points.
Kasami. I feel like Kasami was a reasonable guess.
Callum, you can have a pretend point if you like. Callum, would you like a signing or sale?
Can the other person steal?
No, there's no stealing today. No stealing.
Only signing.
Signing or sale, Callum?
A signing, please.
A signing. Okay. Would you like a 1 pointer or a 1 pointer or a 3 pointer?
A 1 pointer. We'll just get
1 pointer.
Boring.
Okay. Which team had a record signing for Christopher Samba? Which team broke their record signing with Christopher Samba?
Is it just to check? It's not just English teams, is it?
What? Sorry.
It's not just English teams, is it?
Well, no, it is just English. It's an English team that signed and broke their transfer record by signing this player.
QPR.
1 point. You only went for 1 point, but it's a solid point.
That's their record transfer.
Jack, would you like a signing or sale? Yeah, I'm a bit surprised as well.
Sale. We'll change things up.
Sale. For 1 point or 3?
3 points.
3 points. Okay. Who is Manchester City's greatest sale?
Ooh. This is A weird
Not
one.
easy.
Because they
Not
don't
easy.
sell that many players, City.
No, they don't sell that
No,
many
they
players.
And when
don't.
they do sell players, they kind of they sell them for a loss a lot of the time.
I think this player was sold at a loss.
I'm going to go, a bit of a stab here, Robinho.
Point. 3
Let's go.
points, in
Let's
fact.
go.
Is that
Oh,
3
well done,
points?
Jack.
That is 3
That's
points.
very good. Well done. Puts himself in the lead. Callum, would you like a
Who did
a
he get
sale or a
sold to? I
signing?
don't have a clue. It was just a logical.
Was it Milan?
Might have been.
Maybe Milan. Callum, signing or sale, and for how many points?
I'll have to go for a 3
Feeling the
point.
pressure now.
3 point signing.
3 point signing. Which player is the record signing for Cardiff? Now, it's not actually as difficult as you might think. I'll say that much. It's an international standard player, is what I'm getting at. Tricky, but
Jordan Much.
Oh,
tricky.
No, he's not played for
I
Cardiff.
know. I know. As
It's
soon as you tell me, I'll know it,
You will know it. You're right.
not
and I'll be
Vincent
like,
Tan.
oh.
Not Vincent Tan.
I presume it was made in their Premier League season.
Is there a time limit here, or is he allowed to stall for the next?
I'll give you another 5 seconds, I guess. 3, 2.
I don't know, and it's annoying me.
Jack, do you want to guess?
Corker.
There's no points. There's no point. The correct answer is Gary Medell.
Oh, yes.
£11 million
I forgot-
big signing.
as if he played for Cardiff.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
He's now at Inter Milan.
It was a weird spell. Jack, signing or sale, and for how many points?
I think we'll go for another sale and a 3-pointer. It worked for me last time.
Okay. Who is this is quite a good one. Who is Norwich City's greatest sale?
I know
best
this.
sale.
I
Do
think.
you really?
I think is it Dean Ashford to West Ham?
Oh, it's Ashton, and no, it's wrong. The correct answer was Leroy Fer. Very recent.
to
Ooh.
8 million. It was
Very good.
Dean Ashton's was 7.25.
Oh, I feel
whereas
robbed
Leroy
there.
Fer was
Leroy
8 million.
Fur's not worth 8 million.
Hashtag Norfolk knowledge. Callum, how many points? Sale or a sign?
Hello. How many does Jack have? Sorry, I just need to
Jack's
know
currently
how
on 3 points. You're on 1 point.
2 more
as it
than you.
stands.
Okay.
Hashtag Matt.
3 point sale.
3 point sale. Okay. Oh,
I've not tried a sale yet.
interesting one. Everton's record sale is. This is interesting. This is interesting because. Okay, never mind.
Have we been here before?
Well, this is an interesting.
I
This is an interesting answer that it's given me. I'll say that much.
I think we've been here before with this player.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we need the player.
That's a clue. I'm just
Are you
Double
stalling here?
checking.
Can we have a countdown again, please?
no. I think
It's called the
I
clock.
think I'm. I'm stuck between Jody and Lescott, who went for a ludicrous amount to Man City, or Wayne Rooney, and I think it's probably Wayne Rooney.
Have you said Wayne Rooney there? Have you locked that in?
Yeah,
Now, the Wayne Rooney transfer
because it went up, didn't it?
Was not a bulk transfer. It was
Exactly.
So the correct answer is in fact Marwan Fellaini,
Oh,
who went for 27.5 million straight hardcore cash.
how much did Lescott go for?
It was around 24, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Something around that, yeah.
Forgot about
Fellaini's
Fellaini.
not a £28 million player.
No,
For the
No, he's
record.
not.
That's gone under the
Yeah.
radar, that transfer, I think, in the terms of the Premier League. Right, we'll do 5 of these each. Jack, would you like a sale or a signing?
Is this my 5th one?
4th one?
Okay, I'll go for a 5-point sale. I'm liking the sales.
Five point sale.
3 points. Could I have a 5-point? Am I allowed that?
You're upping it there, aren't you? Okay, who is Wigan's record sale?
Right, let's go for the people it's not. It's not Jason Roberts.
I think I might know this.
Chimbonda.
I mean, we could be here for some time.
It's not Jimmy Bullard. Oh, is it?
They've had some quite funny players, haven't they,
Jimmy
Wigan?
Bullard to Fulham.
It's for 3 points.
Driving the big players we could have had, and my mind is stretched at those 3. And I'm not sure Jason Roberts counts as a big player.
Okay.
I'm going to have to go with Jimmy Bullard just because I don't have any
Okay.
other players in my mind.
When I tell you, Jack, that the fee was £16 million pounds,
I think I know this.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Callum, would you like? You can't steal, but I mean, for pride, you can say who.
I'm not sure if I'm right or not. So I'm not sure if I'm.
Follows Martinez.
Was it Valencia to United?
The correct answer is Luis Antonio Valencia.
Yeah,
you are correct. You would have got a bonus point if you were doing that.
That's one of those ones that you just forget about. I forget
Keno,
he played for Wigan.
to take a lead or to draw 1 point closer, what would you like?
Now I think Jack's. I'm trying to assess Jack's performance here.
Get 2 1-pointers. Yeah.
Well, Jack's got one more, and you've got 2 more.
The thing is, if you take a 1-pointer here and get it, I'm just going to get a 1-pointer and force you to go for the 3 for the win.
It's a very
tactical now.
It's great logic.
It's getting very tactical. I'll go for the 3-pointer, then we'll just go all out.
What are you going for? Signing or sale?
Signing.
Oh,
Can I just say, this has been one of the better features.
Thank you.
It has, actually.
They're all good. They're all good, listeners. Sunderland. Who is Sunderland's record signing?
I know it.
He knows it. I mean, it doesn't matter, but he knows it. Although Jack's got a history of when he says he knows it.
No, maybe it's not
him.
It wrong. I think it was a record at the time.
It's not Jimmy Bullard.
Ah.
That's a clue. It's not Jimmy Bullard.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Tricky one.
Oh.
You may have noticed I've stayed away from some of the top teams because
I got Man City, but that was like a tricky one.
It was a tricky one. I mean, I'm quizmaster for a reason, Jack. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to need an answer from Callum here. He's got to give it now.
Jack Rodwell.
Incorrect.
Can I guess? I think this was a record time. I don't know if it's. I think it's Craig Gordon.
Craig Gordon.
The correct answer. It was the 09-10 season. It was for £13.2 million.
Darren Bent, maybe.
It was Asamoah Gyan.
Oh my
god!
God!
He went to Qatar
Because, and again, did
the baby jet?
If I'm not mistaken,
did
how much did Sunderland buy Bent for? Again, it was a deal that was broken. It wasn't like a.
I don't know.
A big fit. Anyway,
knowledge isn't on point here. I must admit,
this is
although we've not got that many points here, I do feel like this is a tricky.
I said before we started, gentlemen, it's always going to be a tricky feature.
I feel like our answers have been fairly decent for the most part.
Jack, would you like? What are you going for? I mean, you could seal the deal here.
I'm going to go for a signing.
Are you going for a 3 or 1? Are you going to take
what's the score? Is it 3-1 to me?
It's 3-1 to you. Yeah.
I'll go for the 1 because I know that Keno's got to then get 3 for the draw.
Signing. Okay. That the random generator has picked out a very difficult one here.
It's a 1-pointer. This is a fix.
I'm going to give you the club. So you just tell me the. Sorry, do I give you the player or the club? I've forgotten.
I feel like you just mixed it up throughout, so I don't think it matters.
Okay. The player is Roger Johnson.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Is this a signing or a sale?
This is a signing.
Can I steal?
I mean, not right now, Callum.
I'm trying to think of Roger Johnson. Is that bad? The fact that
you don't know
Roger Johnson is drinking.
Yeah.
No.
Wiping his ass with money, etc.
Did he used to play?
Reference game on point.
I mean, I can't tell you who he may or may not have played for because that may well give away the clue there.
So hang on, Ben. Is this the team that he signed for, like the record signing?
Oh, yes, he's the record signing for this club in the Premier League.
I know this.
Keno knows it. It might be Villa, but then it might not be Villa.
Might be Villa.
It could be. Or is it another Midlands club like West Brom or Birmingham? Was Birmingham in the league? Oh, you don't have a year, do I?
Steady.
Ben, stop it.
Okay, it's Birmingham there. Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Okay, the correct answer. It's for £7 million.
Is this Birmingham?
2011-2012 season.
Wolves!
Is Wolverhampton
Mate,
Wanderers.
did he sign from Birmingham?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Famously, Roger Johnson. Sorry, no, I got it. Can I tell a little anecdote?
Is this story you tell us about when you met him on an American camp or something? Oh,
no, it's not quite as good as that.
Go on.
But at my secondary school, we had son of Kenny Jackett, Ryan Jackett.
Right.
Attended, was the year below me, but was friends with a lot of my friends. And he used to come up with these brilliant stories about what was happening, like funny things that happened, like, in the training ground and stuff. And I think I'm not sure if Johnson left. Like, I think Jackett handled the outgoing transfer of Johnson, but he had many. And I don't really want to.
Is this going somewhere?
Yes, but he was always drunk. I don't want to say that.
Okay. Are we moving on now to your
The
go?
stories are true.
I feel like he's stalling. He's trying to work out what he's going to go
moving on to
for.
your go, Callum. Do you want a signing?
I'm not
or a
stalling
sale?
because he hasn't told me a
Signing
question.
or sale?
so-
How many points? Now I will say that if you go for 1 point, you will be a bit. But if you go for the 3 point, there's still a chance to win this.
Going for the 1 point is a bit of a.
I mean, you could go into yourself 2 right answers, which is more than Jack.
3. I'm trying to think of
Are you
a
going for a signing or a sale?
signing.
He's going for a signing. He's going for a 3 point signing.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, here we
Just
go
get rid
then.
of that.
Who is Birmingham City's record signing? You are from the Midlands, Callum.
Don't make me do this.
So, who is the record signing for Birmingham City? And to win this week's feature. If you want to call the clock, Jack, you can do.
Can I call? I'll wait 2 minutes.
I have a pretty good idea on who it is, but I'm just double checking any other players that might
I
have
guess we'll have
arrived
to go
at
to a
that time.
tie break if you don't get this. Oh no, you won't. Jack will win.
Oh wait, no, let's not have a tie break. I mean, if he wins it, let's do one then.
I've got a name in my mind.
Well, it's
Nicola
curious.
Zigic.
I mean,
Nicola
I don't know if
Zigic.
Right, can we just? I'm calling the clock. I'm sorry.
I've just said it. Nicola Zigic.
It's incorrect. We're going for the total transfer here. I mean, this is my list is bogus. I feel like the features are fast. It's not what I've got written down, and it's not the right answer anyway on either list that I've got here.
Okay.
The correct answer is Emil Heskey.
Really?
Yeah, 6.25 million overall.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've probably shelled out more than that on Zigic over the time because his
That was
wages
6
are
million.
absolutely
Zigic was 6
obscene.
million. And
I was
Heskey's
going
was
to say
6.25.
Zigic was an absolute beast in LMA Manager 2004.
Thanks for that,
You can
Jack.
sign him from Partizan, bargain.
Anyway,
Best cheap target man in the game.
That's the end of this week's feature. Let me just quickly.
I mean, I don't know if he's unplugged his mic.
Has he gone?
There we go. Did you hear that?
No.
Did you hear that?
No. We
Okay,
thought
don't worry.
we thought he died.
They could hear it in the. You'll hear it in the post recording.
Excellent.
So it's fine. Not a problem.
Should we talk about football?
We can talk about football after this short break. Right then, gentlemen. Finally, let's talk about some football after what has been a fantastic feature, one of the best features I think we've had. Shall we play the jingle again? Or?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Fine, fair enough. Right then, we're going to start off with Europe. It's a change of tack from us. We've been promising a European show for some time. We haven't done one yet, so we're just going to include it in a bumper episode due to the fact that there's no football this coming week apart from the internationals. That frankly, Jack doesn't care about. I was going to say we don't care about. Jack doesn't care about. We'll touch on.
Can I just
Can
I register my interest in the internationals?
Yeah, at the end when we get a few questions about it.
Okay, fine.
So we're going to quickly cover the Champions League and the Europa League based on what the English clubs had achieved throughout that. We'll start off,
Or
of
didn't
course,
achieve.
Or didn't achieve in many cases. Yes, Arsenal versus Barcelona. It went as most of us expected, I would say. Jack, thoughts on that particular match?
Predictable. Same old Arsenal. You wanted them to show a bit of fight going into the away leg. There was no fight.
Well, there was a bit more fight. I think compared to the first leg where they feel like they got a little bit unlucky, I actually think Barca for a period of the game didn't have control.
I'll hold my hand up and say for the 14 minutes between the 51st minute and Suarez's crazy Shaolin soccer goal. Like there was fight there.
Lovely goal, wasn't it? Lovely goal.
Yeah.
It looked like, I don't know if you've seen the film Shaolin Soccer, but it's basically about these martial arts people who learn to play football, but they just do crazy flips and stuff. Like I was getting him a scholarship to go over to Asia to get involved in that school after that goal.
That's basically Barcelona, isn't it?
Sorry, you're getting Luis Suarez a scholarship.
I am.
You lost me at that point there. El Neni's goal was good though. The Arsenal
It was a very good
strike
finish.
outside of the box, curved, wasn't it? Oh, I mean, first look, I thought it got a deflection, Callum, but no, it was a lovely effort.
The problem is, and although I do acknowledge that Arsenal just get fucked over every year by the draw, I mean, they've played Arsenal and Bayern Munich for each of the last 6 seasons, so while that is a bit rubbish and the problems with the seedings are sort of already known, they just... the problems in those two legs against Barcelona, although they were playing obviously a better team than any they would play in domestic competition, the problems were still there, and the fact that they put in like an okay performance away after they were already out of the tie almost, I think, would just rub salt in the wounds for Arsenal fans, because there was a way, and this Barcelona team, for their incredible attacking talent, I think when they're playing Jeremy Mathieu at centre-half, and Piqué was out, they're vulnerable at the back. And the way that they went about the first leg was wrong, and they weren't pragmatic enough. And I know Flamini sort of sabotaged the entire operation. But after approaching that game in the wrong manner, which points to Wenger, they kind of went and, I agree with you, put in a fairly decent performance. But it's just too little too late. And I think it was sort of these two matches, although they were playing Barcelona, admittedly, they weren't favourites. These two matches were kind of a microcosm of their season, and slightly longer than that.
As a counterpoint to that, though, Jack, and we'll come to you, do you think, in a way, that's as good as Arsenal can play against Barcelona? Because of how good Barcelona are. Like, Neymar, Messi and Suarez all scored. I mean, it's difficult.
It's difficult to not concede against Barca. I feel like if you concede 2 away goals against Barcelona, you're out of the tie pretty much all the time. I think they went into this game like 38 games unbeaten. You know, perhaps it is harsh to go to Arsenal and be like, they weren't good enough, but ultimately, they showed...
Is that their fault when Barca are that good, though? That's what I'm saying.
I think
Arsenal aren't good enough, but in essence, it's very difficult to be better than this current Barcelona team, and Arsenal certainly aren't at a level where they can compete over 2 games.
I agree with that, but I think there are things...
They need to show some drive and hunger.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's missing from this Arsenal team to compete on a European front? Because just to touch on it very quickly, Callum, and then we'll come to you.
Yeah, go on.
Is that I hate that Mesut Ozil plays in these games. I understand his quality, right, and I get that he's a very good footballer. But in a game against Barcelona, having Ozil float around, sort of having to defend, isn't what he's good at. And that's a squad issue with Wenger that he needs. Like, he's got El Neni, right? He needs another one of him to stick in there and make it difficult for Barcelona. Not have Ozil on this vague chance that you might get 30% of the ball, and then you can play one through ball that might unlock a defence. Like, that's all well and good. Bring him on after 60 if you want to do that. Don't waste him for an hour having to run around. And Wenger does it every single time Arsenal play against a big team in this stage of the Champions League. Yes, play your best players, but also play the players that suit the game. And Mesut Ozil against a Barcelona team that love to keep the ball is irrelevant for most of that game, and it's a shame because of how good he is, and it makes him look worse than he is. But he doesn't operate well in that sort of team. Sorry, Callum, over to you.
I think that's spot on, and I think if you looked at many other of the top managers in Europe, could you imagine Jose Mourinho playing Ozil in the first leg against Arsenal? Barcelona, sorry. He's shown that, you know, the way he treats Hazard often in European games.
The way he treated Mata as well.
Yeah, and Oscar, and it's not being harsh on the player to drop them. It's just, like you say, adapting and using your squad for the game and the opposition that you're playing. Just to touch on Jack's point, so I think that I totally agree with that. To touch on Jack's point, I think that while it is harsh to say that, you know, or to expect Arsenal to be going toe-to-toe with Barcelona, there are things that you can do, and there are ways that you can set your team up, particularly in the first leg at home, to not concede any away goals, or at least, you know, unnecessary away goals, barring some incredible quality, and to at least give yourself a chance going into the second leg. And like Jack mentioned, 2 away goals to Barcelona, going into the Nou Camp when they're unbeaten in 37 at that point, it's not going to happen. But you could at least give yourself a chance by being a little bit more pragmatic. And I think partly that's down to Wenger and just his choices. It's also partly due to the recruitment, like you mentioned, that they don't have the players to play that pragmatic style. Because, I mean, Flamini and El Neni, I thought El Neni was good over the 2 legs, but Flamini with him in the middle, that's not a midfield that you can compete against Rakitic, Busquets and Iniesta, is it, at all?
No. It's a shame, because I think overall we'd prefer to see Arsenal progress a little bit. I think as a neutral, you want to see Barcelona tested for a start. You hear about this Barcelona team every single week. They're absolutely smashing it. You hear about Messi, Suarez and Neymar absolutely wrecking teams. And essentially, Jack said it at the very start, it was predictable, wasn't it? They did, again, perform wonders. And they're a magnificent trio. Jack, are they the best trio of the last... ever? I'm going to say ever. Are they the best trio ever?
I don't want to say yes, because I know someone's going to make some really vague argument, but certainly in my lifetime, I can't remember a time where perhaps 3 of the best 5 players in the world were attackers who all played alongside each other.
Yeah, it's fun. I like that they play for Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay as well. There's something quite nice about that South American sort of. They've got a South American front line with Spanish core behind it. I quite like that.
I agree with Jack in the sense that I can't remember in my lifetime such a front three, and I think the thing that sets them apart. I mean, you see teams like Real Madrid trying to assemble sort of super teams based, the Galacticos. The thing that sets Messi, Suarez and Neymar apart is that they play for each other. They assist each other so often, and you'd expect with, like Jack mentioned, 3 of the 5 best players in the world arguably in the same lineup and playing with each other. You'd expect ego to often play a part, and maybe people would be selfish and the other team would miss out, but the other members of the team would sort of feel sidelined. But I think that they integrate into the 11 really well, and that is what sort of sets them apart and just makes them that much better.
It's a very fluid system, isn't it?
We don't often talk about Barcelona. Can I just drop my favourite little fact about these 3 players?
Okay.
Messi, Suarez and Neymar's places of birth are actually in a straight line through South America on a map.
I do like that. I've seen that before, actually.
That's pretty Da Vinci Code, isn't it?
Yeah.
If someone told you, go, that's too unrealistic. We can't put that in the film. It's daft. Just... actually,
maybe scouts should just be sent on that line to find players. Like, work out where it intersects Europe. Just march down, find football matches going on there.
I like that.
Fly over it in a plane.
People of the internet, if you want to leave a comment who you think the best 3s are, I'm trying to think of some now. I guess they're not on the same level, but and it never really operated in this way. But you could have like Zidane, Raúl, and Ronaldo at Madrid. They had that sort of period where that was the front 3. It was quite a weapony, but they weren't really a front 3. They'd done a little bit deeper, and etc. etc.
I think maybe just quickly on that, maybe Ronaldo, Rivaldo, and Ronaldinho, 2002 World Cup, Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, sure. If you want to, even internationally,
but that World Cup team was a
isn't
sick team. You had Cafu and Roberto Carlos.
Okay,
Roberto in midfield. I love that team. That's a great team.
I mean, I hate to shout them out, but if you want to know more about the 2002 World Cup, then do listen to one of the Football Rambles little reviews on it. It was very good. So I mean, yeah. Fancy going back, do so.
Reference game on point.
Thank you. Shall we go back to... Thank you, Richard. Shall we go to Chelsea PSG, which I guess if you take out Chelsea's league position, looks like quite an even contest. But it's been a good year for Zlatan, and he's continued it again. PSG go through, Chelsea fall out, and really their season, because of that result, and obviously the FA Cup, is over now. I don't know, do we think Chelsea were expected to do slightly better, or again, was it a case of PSG have come from their league? Jack, you've often said before that you think that PSG's league not being as strong gives them an advantage in competitions like Champions League. They can cater for this competition.
Yeah, I've talked about it with you. We've had heated debates about it. I do think for PSG, they're quite fortunate, because in the Premier League, you have your Premier League teams. They are playing competitive games day in, day out. Every week they've got a hard game, and then they've got their midweek fixture. PSG they can very much play at their own pace in France. I think they've wrapped up the league already. I think they won.
They have.
They won the game to win the league 9-0. I think they thumped the team who were bottom to win the league. I feel like it is a benefit for PSG. I think Juve somewhat benefit from it. I know their league is slightly more competitive, but if you're in a league where you are just significantly better, and you take big leads in games, you can just take your foot off the gas. And well, PSG, they've wrapped up their league season now. Like, their full focus is now on the Champions League, and I don't know, they didn't wow me against Chelsea, but then I think they've got that advantage over a lot of other teams. You look at the other teams, going on in the competition. There's lots of teams there with plenty still to play for in the league. And
it's interesting, actually. We talk just very quickly, because it's relevant to the discussion, that PSG in their last 6 Ligue 1 games have drawn 2 and lost 2 and won 2, one of which was the 9-0. They lost their last game to Monaco, of all the teams. With PSG going forward, hang on, just to remind me, who have PSG got next? I forget.
Man City.
Right now. Oh, of course. Okay, well, we'll come to City in a moment.
We can talk about predictions for that later.
But Zlatan, right? He's 34 now, 35. He's not young by any means.
35 now.
35. He's having he's 34 now. Sorry, one of the best seasons he's ever had as a footballer. And I think he's even said himself that since the 4 goals he scored for Sweden against England, he finds it easier in England. There's talk of him coming to the Premier League. This is where I'm going with this, by the way. There's talk of him coming to the Premier League. Could we genuinely see Zlatan in the Premier League next year?
I'd love to see him alongside Harry Kane. That would be an unlikely partnership. Can you imagine that?
He's having arguably his best season ever. He's had some very good years, but he's currently got 27 and 24. He's doing it in Europe as well. I think he's got 13 and 11.
Yeah.
No, sorry. My bad. He's got 8. That's in cup competitions. He's got 4 in 8 in Europe. So he's not setting Europa alight as much as he is his league campaign. But he's having quite the season. If he came to England, where do you reckon he might go? Who's interested? United have been talked about. Even Arsenal, Chelsea. I mean, I'd love him at Liverpool. I'll say
the problem with signing Zlatan at this point in his career is that it's a bit of a sort of show signing. So, and sort of if we're assuming that, I would expect someone like United to go in for him for a ludicrous fee for a 34-year-old. Yeah, whenever he likes. 6-month loan. 6-month loan.
Would you take, genuine question, Callum? Would you take a 45-year-old Zlatan Ibrahimovic at Villa right now?
I mean, it can't be worse than Rudy Gusted.
I was about to say he'd still be as mobile as Rudy Gusted is now. So yes, I would.
Excellent. I'd love that. I'd love to see Zlatan turn out at 45 for Villa. We'll talk about their next opposition then. City are also through. They did the job in the first leg, really, didn't they?
The only English team through. It was a very solid performance. I think
we'll talk about City a little bit later on as well in regards to what happened at the weekend against United. But it's important for the coefficient, people.
Well, this is the thing that I was going to mention. Yeah, the wider battle that is ensuing between England and Italy over the coefficient, because it's very close. We are, and this I feel like this doesn't get enough coverage.
Sparta Prague saved us, Callum. They've saved us by beating Lazio in the Europa League.
We are very, very, very close. One more bad season away from only having 3 clubs in the Champions League, and I think that would turn almost the Premier League and the top half of the table sort of upside down.
The worst thing about that is that it actually...
Did I say Moscow there or Prague?
Sparta Prague.
Yeah, it was Prague.
You did say
who looked very good, actually. We'll talk about that in a bit.
But I do find it funny how, actually, if it was to drop down to 3 spots, yes, that would be bad for England in terms of representation in Europe. It'd probably make the Premier League more interesting.
What, if we lost?
I feel like it would make it way more competitive between the big, quote-unquote, big 4, which doesn't really exist if you look at this year.
I think it would, but I think one of the problems, and I mean, the sort of correlation isn't exact because obviously Chelsea won the Champions League in 2012. I feel like we often get caught up in the league so much that our big teams, or not big teams, but a lot of English teams in the Champions League and in Europa League sort of focus on it less. But I think if you actually look at the time in, the sort of 3, 4, 5 years where English teams were dominant, from arguably 2005 to maybe 2010, 11, it was a very closed shop in the top 4, which allowed English teams to focus a lot more on the Champions League. And I mean, it's a trade-off between what we have right now, which is, an incredibly open, exciting Premier League, or the prospect of us losing our coefficient. So it's a balance. I think that really you'd hope that with the money coming into the Premier League, you could do both because teams will be more competitive every day. But it's an interesting balance, and I think if you look at Juve and maybe the top 4 in Italy, they're arguably a little bit further away from the rest of the pack than the top 4 are in England. So
I would say that the one thing that would happen if we lost the Champions League spot is I think teams would be forced to give a shit about the Europa League, and I don't necessarily think that's the worst thing, actually. But as a Liverpool fan, as a team that most likely going to finish 4th.
Well, I love the Europa League. Loved it
season on season. Years. I mean, Jack, just for you, Jack, we'll talk about it in a minute. I think it'd make the league more interesting. You'd have 3 or 4 Europa spots, 3 Champions League spots. I don't know. I don't know if it would make it more interesting. That might be.
I do think mentioned about how the fact that the top 4 was fairly cemented back when England were fair. I don't want to say dominant in the Champions League, but a force.
We were 4 English teams in the Champions League at one point. In the semi-finals.
But it's like...
I think it was 3, but I get your point.
Was that the Chelsea United final? Is that right?
Yeah.
I watched that on a French exchange in France. Anyway, fun fact, that's not where I was going. Can
you tell us more about that trip?
I broke my braces when I was there, biting on a mint imperial.
Oh, no. I mean, there is more.
And then I had to get a present for my sister on the way home, so I got what was it? It was like a clear plastic Eiffel Tower on the ferry home with chocolates in. I was like, I got this from the Eiffel Tower. She's watching this now.
What a brother, everyone. A brother with all one.
Anyway, the point I was going to make is I actually think England have been a victim of a bit of the evolution of football in the last few years in terms of the pace of the game. And I think that how much more intense our domestic football is, and football is in general, means that you can't, you hear about teams struggling to play 2 games a week. I actually kind of buy into that a lot, and I think a lot with how football has changed over kind of the last 7, 8, 9 years. I feel like that has played a role in England, in English clubs struggling. I know we talked about PSG being able to take it easy in the league. They can afford to lose 2 games, draw 2, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think for English teams, you look at perhaps City in their game midweek, you look at United, and obviously their game midweek, and then going into the Manchester derby. I think that does take it out of the players a little bit. It does kind of play a role, I guess, in how you approach both games. Yeah,
well, Jack, with City, they've got PSG next. Very difficult game, I think, for City. Because of obviously PSG have wrapped up the league. They can play even more their own pace now. They're not even fighting for a league anymore. How well, I guess sort of to tie that in, how far can City go, and will they be stopped by PSG?
I think it benefits them actually that they play away in the first leg. I'm kind of a firm believer that the away leg first is a good thing. The big thing for Man City is they've not got who have they got out? Is it Hart and Sterling both injured at the moment?
Hart and Sterling both out for a month, so
I mean
that's going to hurt. Miss the first
that's going to hurt them badly.
We'll have to, because that
I will
happened
go out
also.
on a limb and say if City can score and concede less than 1 or less, they'll win the second. They'll go from the second leg.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think City, if they can defend well away from home, I think City's actual big weakness is kind of quite explosive forwards.
That's a massive question mark, though, isn't it? City defending well away from home at the
it is, but I feel like I actually feel like Ibra is actually not the worst striker that they could be facing right now. When you look at their defence, perhaps the lack of legs in it.
You say that though. You look if I'm Ibra and I'm looking at Di Michaelis right now.
I mean, that is like a gazelle, with a lion following him. I appreciate that, but sometimes the gazelles get away, and that's what I think might happen.
I mean, it's not even as an analogy. It's a weird. I don't know where you're going with it. I'll be honest.
On this game, I just think that City don't have the defensive power to do it. I mean, you've probably already mentioned it, but sorry guys, I just had to go and get the door.
Yeah, you've revealed it there. You slipped back in, but
I could have seamlessly slipped back in, but the doorbell rang. So, yeah.
Was it a 45-year-old Zlatan Ibrahimovic?
I'm here.
No, it wasn't. No. I wish it was. It was quite dark. I couldn't see too well.
Was it?
I think you'd have known. He's 6'4". You'd have definitely known. Was it Jack's sister holding a see-through version of the Eiffel Tower? I mean, it could have been a number of people.
I must have missed this bit.
No, you've missed the French exchange stories. Now we went through 3 of them.
Oh no!
Never mind. Shall we? I feel like
Ben, can you share a childhood story? Because we've had Mr. Jacket's son at Keenhoe School. I've revealed a few dark secrets about my French exchange. I feel like you owe us one now.
What, a story of me going abroad?
You think of one, any story.
I've got one now, if you like.
Right, that's story time with Ben, new feature.
It's more of a tragic tale than it is a story of sort of hope and glory, but I went to Holland to a theme park.
I thought you were about to go, I went to Hull, and then it just ended.
I saw the trampoline. I was like, right, there's a trampoline there. There were ones built into the ground. I'd never been on one before. I thought, this is going to be great. I mean, what could possibly go wrong here? Tried to do a flip and winded myself and spent the next 3 hours trying to breathe. So, I mean...
That got dark.
I mean, it's not feel good.
Once I went on a drop slide in indoor play area, and I panicked and I put my hands down and I got friction burns over my hands and had to go to hospital.
Is that what you told them? Is that what you told the hospital?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I had blisters over the entirety of my hands. I don't know what else I could have been doing for that to happen. Yeah. Anyway, should we move on? I mean, we've had a new feature there. It's called Story Time.
I don't know where that's gone. I mean, no one's listened for that. I'll tell you now. So, PSG City, who you taking, Jack?
I've already kind of put up my shop, haven't I? City, if they... No,
not City if they do this. Who are you having?
I'll say there's a 70% chance of PSG winning it, but if City...
What do you mean? Pick a team.
I feel like picking a team is fruitless, because you're always going to be wrong. I think there's a higher chance of PSG winning, therefore I would put my money on PSG.
Sorry, just to quote Jack there. Picking a team is fruitless because you're always going to be wrong, only if you're wrong.
No. So what I mean by that is, in football, when you make a prediction, I think you're better off making a prediction of, I think there's a 70% chance of Paris winning or PSG winning. No, hear me out here. When it comes to making predictions, If I was just to go, Man City will win.
Jack,
No, listen, hear me out. This is a
agree.
logical argument. If I was to sit there and say City are going to win, let me finish, please. If I was to sit there and say City are going to win, and then they win, and I come up next week and go, yeah, I called it, that doesn't mean anything. I'd rather give a reason behind what I think might happen, how the game might planned out, rather than just say a name that has no context, has no meaning behind it.
The idea is that you take all those factors into
account. But I'd rather
and
explain those factors rather than say one name.
Right,
okay.
We've heard Jack's percentages. Now,
PSG are more likely to win it.
Thank you.
But under the circumstances that City can perform out of their skin away from home and only concede one and get an away goal, I think they'll win the second leg.
We've got 3 more games here. Right, Bayern Munich came back against
Kino doesn't
Juventus.
get to make a prediction.
We're not going to... Oh, sorry, Kino. PSG,
Any
Man City.
percentages?
With the injuries, Man City will not win.
I think PSG will win.
PSG will win quite comfortably.
Yeah, I agree with that. Right. But I'm not taking any percentages into account. And when they win, I'll come back and I'll say, told you all.
However, it doesn't matter if City don't win because our coefficient is safe because
get a round of applause for the coefficient. Thank you, everyone.
Juventus did not get through.
No, because they lost to Bayern Munich. Thank you. Who played Benfica in the next round? It's Guardiola's last real chance. He's probably going to win the league, so it's his last chance to have an impact at Bayern Munich before he leaves for Manchester City. I mean, again, we'll come on to that a little bit later. We had a question about it. Do we think Bayern Munich will beat Benfica? Who actually are a better side than I think we probably give credit for. It's one of those teams that we don't see every week. We don't watch their games maybe as much as certain other European sides and don't know that much about them. But they are very capable. They've got a chance to cause problems. And as you touched on previously, Jack, they're away in the first leg, which means they then get Bayern at home in that second leg. What are your percentages saying, Jack?
I think Bayern are going to win this quite comfortably. Hate to be the party pooper.
To put a percentage on it?
90. I watched it. When Luis Suarez scored to make it 2-1, I actually flicked over to this game because they were on at the same time, and I was just out to watch this game instead. I'm glad I turned on because I got to see basically Lewandowski's goal onward. So I actually turned on and Juve were 2-0 up. Almost flicked back at that point, but I saw quite a few chances for Bayern leading up to that Lewandowski goal.
Well, I watched this all the way through.
Dedication.
So shall I talk about it?
Tell us all about it. Start from minute 1.
Well, I thought that actually the Bayern performance of this game, they didn't convince me, and Guardiola's yet to convince me at this stage in the Champions League really for Bayern. And while I agree, I think they'll probably beat Benfica. Whether they can win it, I still think is in question. Their performance reminded me of, it wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago when they played Real Madrid at home, when I think they went down. Did they lose that leg 3 or 4-1? Because the aggregate was 7-1 in the end, but they lost it comfortably. And it reminded me very much of that because they were playing, as they have done this season in the league recently, Kimmich and Alaba as centre-halves. They started like that. And although they were on top in terms of possession and territory throughout the game, Juve were able to do in a similar style to what Madrid did 2 years ago. They were able to grab 2 fantastically taken goals. And I think that when it was 2-0 to Juventus, Bayern could eat. I mean, we must forget that Juve also had a goal disallowed, which shouldn't have been, and it would have been 3-0 at that point, and you arguably would have said the tie would have been over by then. When they're chasing the game under Guardiola, Bayern look very vulnerable, and I think going into this next leg again, this next tie against Benfica, if they can come out of the away leg at the Allianz with a respectable scoreline, or even, I mean, it works a little bit differently, but if they can come out fairly well, I think Bayern are there for the taking, particularly if they're playing that final leg at home. I think they'll win it, but they weren't very impressive against Juventus. I know they got the job done. I don't know what you thought, Jack.
For me, Juventus actually looked really tired in this game.
Well, that's another thing that I noted down that you when you mentioned earlier about PSG, Juventus have had to work very hard in the way that they haven't for the last few years in Serie A. They've been on a fantastic run, but they're duelling with Napoli at the moment at the top of the league, and it's been a lot more competitive, and they were missing 2 key players in Chiellini and Dybala through injury sustained in this league campaign, which is hard for them. I know they're winning, but it's hard, and I feel like if they were if they were playing Bayern and sort of working in the league at the same level that they were last year, they could easily have won this comfortably. Because Dybala has been a massive impact on them this year.
I was quite surprised actually, because towards the end of the game, the momentum certainly shifted. Prior to the Muller goal, there was a few chances that perhaps died down a little bit, but you could feel a goal. Like you could almost feel the Bayern fans sucking the ball into the net. Like in the crowd, there was definitely the fans getting on board. They still believed. I was actually surprised. Juventus had only used one sub. Yeah. Until going in through regular time. And in that game, it looked like it was crying out, just get a man on in the midfield, just someone with some legs who's going to sit there.
Well, yeah, Khedira came off at 2-0. He brought off Khedira, who was arguably their best midfielder at that in the game. He came off at 2-0 midway through the second half. Sturaro came on. And he could have been tired. Again, points towards maybe the injuries that they've got because they are competing on two fronts. And yeah, I agree with that. The substitutions that Allegri made when he did make them weren't convincing. And while, yeah, it was quite convincing for Bayern in the end in terms of the scoreline, for much of that game, Juventus, although they had less possession, looked in control. And there are question marks over Bayern.
I've got to say, I thought Koeman impressed me when he came on. I know he came on very late on in the game.
Not spoken about him, and he's not really.
Well, he's on loan, isn't he, from Juve?
Was strange.
It's basically a done deal because it's a 2-year loan with an option to buy, I think, 28 million euros. So
it's a very good point that he went and played.
Yeah.
No play against home team or whatever,
And he actually played. I don't know how the loan kind of sort of criteria
You probably don't
works.
factor that into this kind of loan, do you? You just think, we're not going to play each other. If you don't really write the clause, you can't play against us.
Yeah. I mean, he played for Juve. He started for Juve at the very beginning of the season in front of Dybala, actually, which raised quite a few sort of concerns. But he's already
played
played
7 million to have him. They paid 7 million to him for 2 seasons, and there's 21 more to keep.
You know
him.
what that is, though? That's the Robben replacement, along with Costa potentially be the Ribéry replacement.
And it must be said that once he made that change, credit to Guardiola, once he brought on Koeman and moved Costa onto the right, they were so much more dangerous, and in the end they did manage to finish it off.
I bet Koeman is a player that Ancelotti will very much enjoy. He suits an Ancelotti team, does Kingsley Coman. Just quickly on Benfica, we've spoken a lot about Bayern and Juve there. But I dare say Benfica have had a very cushy run to get to this point. Their group had Galatasaray and FC Asatania. Do you know?
Romanian?
Kazakhstan?
Oh, yeah.
I would say.
I know that because there's an esports team called Astana Dragons.
Yeah.
The only reason
they came second in their group. Obviously, Galatasaray and Astana, they're okay, but they're not like great sides. It's not like a fierce battle there. They finished second relatively comfortably. They then played Zenit, which again, it's a relatively easy game, and Benfica have scored in every single game.
It's relatively easy when you consider that. It's relatively easy when you consider that Zenit had that the winter break and stuff.
And Bayern have just played the champions of Italy. I think that's kind of what we're saying.
Benfica benefit as well, don't they? I believe Portugal are in the top 8 seeds or the top 7 seeds in terms of leagues. They're guaranteed the first seed in the pot draw.
They were first seeds and had Atletico in their group, but Atletico are technically the second seed, which is
so it's a little bit weird, I think.
Yeah, so I think we're all kind of saying roundabout that Bayern will probably win that. But Benfica, you never know. They could throw it. Like as I say, they've scored in every game. If they can score away at Bayern in the first leg, you were kind of saying, that if they score, then it's going to make the tie very interesting going into that second leg.
I think when Bayern are chasing games under Guardiola, they are very vulnerable to good counter-attacking play. Whether that will hurt them in this Benfica game or whether it will be later on, we'll see. But yeah, it's a very interesting tie.
Yeah. We'll touch on the other two very briefly because we talked about Barcelona quite a lot. Barcelona, Atletico Madrid. Who you're taking? Atletico came through on penalties against PSV. I know it's a bit boring to say. I guess there's two arguments.
95% chance Barca.
Yeah, Atletico Madrid are one of the teams that you could actually see stopping Barcelona.
Well,
but Barcelona are in such good form, then it's going to
that Atletico draw of 0-0. I don't know if it was the first ever 0-0 draw in a Champions League knockout stage, but it set some kind of record because it just doesn't happen very often, especially through extra time as well.
Yeah, both games, weren't they? Both games were 0-0 all the way through.
Yeah.
I feel a bit bad for PSV. You don't really see the Dutch teams doing ever so well. They get a 0-0 over 2 legs and then lose 8-7 on penalties. It's pretty crushing for PSV, isn't it? And but to be fair, they would have got battered by Barca. So every time.
Yeah, it's set up a really interesting tie because in the last sort of 3 or 4 years, Atletico have had a really good record against Barcelona in all competitions. But it recently maybe in the last 12 months. I think because they had a long string of draws and the odd win against Barca, and Barca have been able to turn the screw on them a little bit more recently. So I would say that on current form, obviously we know Barca are walking the league, but Atletico are very good as well. Their defence is, I think, the best in Europe. It's one of the best. I think they've only conceded 16 goals all season in the league.
We kind of, in contrast, we said before that Arsenal are a team not set up to deal with Barcelona, whereas Atletico Madrid are far more set up to deal with, comparatively at least anyway, are far more likely to be able to set up. Simeone's going to have those boys drilled, aren't they? And of course, as you say, the familiarity with playing Barcelona. I think they played each other in January, and Barca only won that 2-1. And in the first time they played, I think Barca won that 2-1 as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think they won both legs 2-1. So in previous performances, Barca have come out on top, but it'll be interesting to see how it happens in the Champions League. As you say, Simeone will have them drilled, you would imagine. And then finally, we touch on the Real Madrid versus Wolfsburg game. Nice to see Wolfsburg going through.
Yeah.
But beating Ghent, again, much like the Benfica situation, a relatively easy path on their way to the Champions League last 16. Do we think this is, I mean, it seems obvious, it seems too predictable to say that it'll be an easy an easy Real Madrid win. Is that what we're taking? I
think they will win, but Madrid under Zidane so far have been very far from convincing. While we all know how good they are going forward, I don't think, obviously being a fairly young new manager, he's not drilled them in the same way that Benitez did at the back, and that showed. And while yes, they can continue to sort of score a lot of goals in the league, when it comes to this stage, and playing the best teams in Europe, I think Wolfsburg will expose some of the problems that Zidane hasn't solved so far at Madrid. But I think ultimately they will just have too much firepower for Wolfsburg.
I think Wolfsburg will, correct pronunciation there, Wolfsburg will actually win the first leg, maybe only conceding one goal. They've been very good defensively. I think they conceded 2 against United, but with the exception of that...
Do you really think that? Do you really think... I'm going to question you again on that. Do you really think they'll win the first leg against Madrid?
Yeah, I think defensively they've actually got a little bit more over them, and I think a big problem for Madrid has been that there's games where they'll go into them, and if they don't break a team down immediately, they get quite complacent. And I don't know. I look at the Wolfsburg team. Yes, it's not full of superstars, but you've got some pretty good players there. You've got Dante, Young, Naldo, Ricardo Rodriguez, the Swiss player. Is it Benaglio in goal as well? Like, that was a pretty decent back four there.
The run that Wolfsburg are on at the moment, or like the form Wolfsburg are on since November, is not good at all. They've won 4 games since November.
Won the games that matter though.
Or 3 games. Well, they've gone through in the Champions League. They've lost and drawn a lot of games though in the Bundesliga. Actually, where are Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga? Shall I have a quick look at this? They're 8th currently. Not having a particularly good season. I think, again, it'll be another interesting game. I think if Madrid can break it down, they're clearly a side that are focusing now on the Champions League. This is Wolfsburg I'm about. And if Madrid can break that down, then I think Madrid
I think Draxler and Schürrle as well could be quite nifty players in this kind of game.
They're a dangerous team for sure. But
they're one of these Wolfsburg are one of these weird teams that are doing it in Europe and just it's affecting their league form horrifically. Yeah. And they're just not performing at all. It's almost they've got one eye on that, and then once they're out of that, it's going to be...
You could say
okay, let's focus on it again.
In the league. Do you get it? Because they have the player called Christian Trash in that midfield.
So who do we think will win?
Surely it's got to be Real Madrid, but I actually fancy Wolfsburg to win in the home tie.
Okay, we'll see, won't we? Kino, Madrid?
I agree with that. I think that Wolfsburg are dangerous. It's actually it's a more intriguing tie than you might think.
You've also got Lord Bentner.
I think Madrid are going to smash them, I'll be honest. But
really?
Yeah, I think we'll see though. Right, so out of all of the teams that are still in it, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich, Benfica, PSG, City, Wolfsburg and Madrid, for the first time this season, I think, maybe we did it in the first couple of episodes, who do we think is going to win the Champions League? We'll come to you, Jack. I don't want a percentage, I want a name.
I want to say Wolfsburg, just to be a hipster if they win it. I think City will get to the final. And I think they'll lose probably to Bayern Munich in a poetic finale.
Stunned silence from me and Ben at what we've just heard.
If that happens now, I look like Mystic Meg.
I don't think that...
I don't know what to do. Don't know how to feel.
I think he just does it on purpose.
I don't know. Kino will come to you for a reason.
I could be boring. I could go Barcelona, Real Madrid,
Well, my reasoned answer will be Barcelona
Boring.
because I think they're the only team that I've seen, and if they manage to do this, it'll sort of raise questions about the Guardiola team as sort of the greatest club side in recent memory. They have a really good chance of retaining the Champions League, probably the best chance that anyone's had since it was created. And I think they could well go on and do it. I think they will do.
So many questions for Jack, but I'll quickly give you my thoughts, I guess. I think it'll be Barcelona versus PSG in the final. I think Barcelona will win. Jack?
Yeah.
Who's knocking out Barcelona?
Atletico, who lose to Bayern, City beat Real Madrid.
So the Premier League, that happened this.
United Liverpool, great win for Liverpool. Good performance.
Oh yeah, sorry, Europa League. Sorry,
Right.
Premier League. We're an hour in, folks. If you get,
I've realised we're an hour in here. I feel like we need to switch to a feature called minute-long matches. So what we're going to do for the remaining of the matches, they're going to be a minute-long reviews. I hope you guys are ready.
Right. I mean, are you taking over here?
I've got a clock here. There's 20 seconds till we're on the minute. So if you've got anything you want to talk about now,
no, let's just go now. Right, 3, 2, 1.
Bang, go.
What was the match?
United, Liverpool. Good result. Convincing second leg performance. Didn't talk about the first leg, but it was a pretty good win there for Liverpool. Van Gaal out? Question mark. I mean, you got to look at the weekend and beat City, which is going to save his bacon a little bit.
Has Jack just hijacked the podcast?
I've taken over.
I mean, it's gone off the rails, Keno.
Right, we're 20 seconds in. Maybe we should do 20 second match reviews.
Let's talk a little bit about Liverpool in a serious manner, because I think that as Liverpool fans, would you say that they're better off prioritising Europe in full?
At this point, yes.
Because I feel like it hasn't been talked up enough in the way that arguably, Sevilla is still in, obviously Dortmund, and I would say they're the two favourites. But Liverpool could beat them in a two-legged affair. And obviously
no.
I think they could.
No, we can't. Have you seen Aubameyang? He's really good.
I know he's good at football.
Like, really good. And if... I do think we're much better with sort of a settled team now for the first time in a little while. Until obviously you make a substitution at half time, which wrecks your entire Premier League season. But
let's go.
No, Dortmund are really good, and Liverpool are okay, and have moments where they're like better than okay. They also have moments where they're not better than okay, and they're really quite bad. I think Dortmund will win the Europa League now. I think it's set up for Dortmund quite nicely, actually. Tottenham didn't care, did they? Tottenham have decided we'll be Tottenham have looked at it and gone, right, the prize for winning this competition is the Champions League. Let me just quickly look at the league table. We're probably going to get into the Champions League, so let's not bother with this.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the part of me thinks, I don't really blame you. I
think this is the one sort of example of teams just throwing the Europa League, which actually makes a lot of sense.
I should say if Redknapp was in charge, I would be absolutely on him for this. I'd be slagging him off. But I mean, Redknapp wouldn't have Spurs nearly winning the league, so I say wouldn't nearly win the league. Leicester are romping it. So yeah, I think Dortmund will win it. Dortmund are still like one of the best teams in Europe.
I think that Dortmund
last year,
Dortmund obviously they had a bad year in the last year of Klopp.
You actually wrote that down. Sorry, I didn't realise you'd written that down.
Yeah, they would be probably in the quarterfinals of the Champions League right now, quite comfortably. Because they probably are one of the top sort of 6-7 teams in Europe for sure.
I would struggle to disagree.
It's been great to see. Sorry, no. I was going to talk about Dortmund, but it's fine. We've got to go on. Move on.
Yeah, Liverpool United. I think United feel a little bit like towards the Europa League, and Liverpool did well to win it. I think
I do like the fact Liverpool have been drawn against Dortmund, because I actually think if Liverpool win, which I don't necessarily think they will, but I think there is a chance. It actually makes it suddenly. It's like a
Jack. There's a chance that anyone will win.
The point I want to make here is that I think actually this is an ideal opportunity perhaps for Liverpool and Klopp to show some of the Dortmund players who worked under Klopp, this is what you could have in the summer.
It's like Michael Owen.
Jack's got betting slips with 8 sides because he's edged his bets so many times.
So
many edges.
I don't you think that's a valid point though? I think actually
it is
this
a valid
game
point, Jack.
is like
yes,
an opportunity for Klopp to be like, here's what you could play under.
Yeah, and I think, we'll talk about it maybe just quickly on the Southampton game. You need centre-halves, and one of the three of Subotic...
Can we kill Skirtle? Because no one's going to buy him.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Premier League preview begins now.
Well, it was a slight little tangent, because we have a lot to cover, but
we'll start with this.
One of those three centre-halves in Socrates, Hummels, or Subotic would be a fantastic addition to
Well,
Liverpool.
it's worth noting that we've already signed Joel Matip.
Yeah.
I still think
So
we need another,
you would
actually.
Well, no, I think if you've signed Joel Matip and you get rid of Skirtle, please. I mean, I've slagged
You
him
get
off
rid
for
of
about
Skirtle,
4
you get rid of
years.
Colo. Sorry, Colo.
No, the problem. Okay, so for those who didn't see it, Liverpool lost 3-2 to Southampton.
Keno-
Who did very well to come
Keno
back.
has written criticism of Skirtle harsh? Question mark in the running
Do you think
order.
that is? Do you think it is harsh, Keno? Or are you just
I
speaking
feel-
hypothetically?
It was more of a
Open devil's
hypothetical,
advocate.
but I do think that he has been probably the best, the sort of the mainstay of your defence for the last 5 or 6 years. When
That
many
is
of
why we've
when
been
many-
so shit.
yeah, but no. Wait, I think he's where many others have gone missing. See Lovren, Aga, etc. Skirtle has continued to perform to a certain level, but I don't know.
Basically, you think Skirtle's good because of attendance. I mean, that's not a good enough reason. You might get a certificate, but I mean, he's not winning anything. You're not winning anything for turning up. He's a dreadful
not
defender.
sports day.
He had one good season. I think it was 10-11 or 11-12, where he was great. Right, he was probably arguably one of our most underrated players that season. Arguably our best player of the season. Right, he had a very good year that year. Ever since that season, that he was really good. I forget which one it was. He's been absolute shit. Honestly, he's the best defender ever at making the first situation impossible to defend for someone else and then covering it and going, oh, look how good I am at covering defense. It's like, yeah, because you've put that person in a dreadful scenario to begin with. And what happened this weekend was that he had 3 situations where he had to deal with the ball. He cocked up all 3, gave a penalty away for one of them, and he should never play for Liverpool
I've got
again.
some stats here for the Martin Skirtle's game, courtesy of Squawker, not officially.
Listen up,
sponsored by-
listen up, Keno, listen up.
Martin Skirtle, goals conceded actually came on at half time, 3. Penalties given away, 1. Interceptions, 0. Aerial battles won, 0. Tackles won, 0. He's fucking awful. He's one of the first players who Klopp has to get out the door. Matip's coming in. You have Matip, Sacco, and Lovren. I think there may be one more centre back needed with Colo maybe going out.
Joe Gomez will be back, and that's the rumour, isn't it? That Joe Gomez will fill a bit of a void.
I just
there.
think,
Very
who's
true.
going to want him? Who is going to... China.
Italy.
Someone bring up
Italy will take
China.
him. The thing is, right, Martin Skirtle got sent off in an under-21 game in midweek. Sent off in an under-21 game, Martin Skirtle. And again, he's been out for a while. He came back. It's his first game back. It's the first time, and I'm not gonna ignore this. It's the first time I think Klopp has made a dreadful decision within a game.
I think he thinks the
he had-
game's won. He's got Colo on
Well,
the
he had-
bench who's played in like
Well,
the
he had Colo
final.
on the bench. That's the thing. He should have played Colo. Colo was on the bench. Colo and Saka have formed a decent partnership this season. I think, as a fan watching, I trust
I'm not angry, by the way.
Toure more. And again, to Skirtle's defence and Klopp's defence, Klopp puts him on. He doesn't know he's going to be that bad. I think he's hoping that he'll play certainly better than conceding 3 to Southampton when we looked in full control of the game. But yeah, not a fan. Never really been a fan. He had one good year. I don't know how he's still a Liverpool player. I don't know how he's earning 80 grand a week.
Right, next
Can we
game.
have another game?
Next game.
The title race, we can look at both, because Leicester have won their last 3 games 1-0, and they are slowing down.
We didn't talk about it. Well, actually, they won a lot of games 1-0 earlier on in the year, and that was one of the big doubts I had about them. Could they keep it going? There was like a point where they won like all but one of their games by 1-goal margins. We didn't talk about it. I didn't want to bring it up because I have bigged up Okazaki on the odd occasion. Scored an overhead kick last week. That's why there wasn't a podcast. The guys wouldn't let me sit down and record. They thought we'd talk about that for too long.
Jack was off celebrating all week because...
But
Okazaki,
I don't know. Leicester, they seem to... I don't know how they're doing it, but they just keep winning. And I'm still not convinced. I know that, is it 5 points clear now or 8 points clear? It changed a bit because Spurs...
5 points after Tottenham scored. 5
Just,
points.
like, that, if they do it, it's... I mean, the thing is, if Spurs
Jack,
win it...
they're 6 or 7 games away from the league title, and you're still not convinced.
I honestly think Spurs are going to win the league still.
Even I and Ben, I presume, have been converted onto the Leicester.
I still think Leicester...
bandwagon.
I think
They've
Spurs...
They've won it, mate. It's over.
I mean, I predicted...
They're not losing
I predicted
again.
in January
That's it.
Arsenal would finish outside the top 4 and Spurs would finish top, and I got laughed at. That's actually looking like probably the closest of all our
Look at him.
predictions in January.
He's playing
for
the
what might
victim
happen.
again.
Can I say my Wayne Rooney prediction is now null and void due to his injury?
So is my Charlie Austin one.
No, he's still been around.
injured.
He's allowed.
He's out for an
Your
indefinite
candle
period of
flickered.
time.
The candle flickered briefly for Ben on his Wayne
all
Rooney
I'll
prediction,
say is,
and
Jack,
then
you're saying that Tottenham have got a chance at this
I
league
think
title, right?
they'll win it on goal difference last day.
Leicester's next 4 games: Southampton at home, Sunderland away, West Ham at home, Swansea
They've just
at
beaten
home.
Palace 1-0. Palace, a team who have won like one since like November.
Doesn't matter, Jack. They won it, mate.
They did, but my point is that there are no easy games.
That result will not be on the trophy at the end of the season, but their
Palace's name
will
won't be.
No, Palace's name won't be.
I actually think how well Southampton are playing, it's arguably the biggest banana skin for them this next game coming up. Because Southampton are in great form.
Leicester do end the season, United away, Everton at home, Chelsea away. Like, to think that Chelsea... How awful would that be? Chelsea do nothing all year, and then Chelsea prevent Leicester on the final day winning the league. Oh,
I'm trying to think of like an analogy for this. Where Chelsea, they're meant to be like the team who are going to finish top. Everyone believes in them. Everyone kind of forgets about them, and they come back and take out, the kid about to ascend to the very top.
I'll tell you what. I'm looking at it now. I genuinely think, like, I'm on your hype train, right? I'm on the Leicester hype train, but I think Chelsea will stop Leicester in the league on the final day.
I mean, I've just called that, and now you're going with my shout.
I wasn't listening to what you were saying.
The norm, then.
That'd be yes, Kino. Sorry, Jack. Yeah, whoever it was.
They've got West Ham as well to play. That's a tricky one.
Well, yeah, I think Leicester will do it. I must say. Spurs got a 3-0. Harry Kane got a couple of goals. Still 5 points behind. It's annoying that they don't play each other sort of in these final 7 games, isn't it?
Yes, that would be good.
Quite like that, but they don't play each other. Spurs just look quite good. Bournemouth are safe. Can we say
they
that?
look on that? They looked on their holidays. I think I saw one of the. Not sure who it was. I saw someone trying to make a sandcastle at the side of the pitch at one point.
Did they? I like that. It's quite cute.
Bournemouth are putting in quite early. It's still March. Putting in the first on the beach performance of this season.
Good. They've
got
early.
in there early.
It's very early.
It is early, but they've already done it, and they're on 38 points. I think they'll pick up another win probably in 7, and they're safe.
In the last 4 seasons, 37 points keeps you up.
Exactly.
Watford are the cut-off. Watford already have 37 with 8 games left. I think they're probably safe as well. Swansea very close. And interestingly, if Sunderland had won at the weekend, and they've still got games in hand along with Newcastle, and if Palace lose again, Palace are getting dragged in.
Norwich are kind of clawing their way out very slowly.
Well, we'll talk about Norwich. Norwich got a win this weekend. Can you bloody believe
it? They kept their first ever clean sheet on the road this year. It's taken till March. They've done it and they've won.
I dare say, Jack, you'll be able to confirm this. In the last, say, 6 seasons Norwich have spent in the Premier League over like a period of time, I bet that's probably like the 5th clean sheet they've kept away from home, because Norwich are notorious for not keeping clean sheets.
One of the issues you have is, if you're one of these smaller teams coming in, you have to defend well. Like, you're not going to score like 2 or 3 every game. Like, that is what wins you points, like keeping clean sheets and getting 1 or 2 goals. And that's actually something that Leicester have done quite a lot of. Norwich don't. No one's told Norwich that. Like, they don't really focus on their defending when I see them play in the Premier League. They try and play sexy football. They do it for about 10 minutes. And for the rest of the game...
You say that Norwich are clawing it back slowly. I think this win was the least that they could do, because I still think they're going to get dragged in and ultimately be relegated.
I said last week, the winner of the Time Wear Derby was going to be the team that stayed up.
So you think they're both going down?
I think I have to say that now. I will say, at the start of the year...
based on logic
at the start
and
of
what
the year,
Jack said.
I said Jermaine Defoe's goals would keep Sunderland up. And I got laughed at for that, and that was like a cool... I think I said if he scored more than
Jack,
15...
stop playing the victim.
I mean, they're still 18th.
Mate,
look,
so I know we had to go at you.
I know we had to go at you about your predictions earlier, right? But you don't have to keep playing the victim.
Defoe. That's all I'm saying.
Hashtag percentages. That's the name of today's show. So... Norwich get a win. Obviously, the big North East derby. It was a bit like the fact it ends 1-1. There's not a great deal to talk about, because it doesn't really change their situations at all. It keeps them pretty much exactly where they were.
And if anything, Norwich were the big winners from this weekend, because they've made up 2 points on both of those teams, who will be very. It was an exciting game, as they always are, but ultimately didn't help either side.
Can we discuss Norwich's upcoming games?
The next 3 games.
This makes it really exciting.
We talk about Spurs Leicester not playing each other, right? Spurs Leicester not playing each other is a travesty. But down the bottom, Callum Keane, let me tell you this: Norwich play Newcastle at home, Palace away, Sunderland at home. I mean, that's what you want, right? That's what you want.
I mean,
who are we playing? What's our fixture list like?
I mean, let's stop giving hope here, Ben.
I think Villa have given up on a couple, actually.
Not turning up. It's going to be like a Sunday League game. 10 players turn up.
we've
Villa,
lost.
Villa probably already get relegated. You still have to play Chelsea, United, and Arsenal. So I think it's probably over. Although you do play Newcastle, you could send Newcastle down on the 7th of May. That'd be interesting, Callum. Maybe you could do that. Drag someone down with you. Come on, Newcastle. Come with
of
me
course,
to the Championship.
of course. When Newcastle were last relegated in 2010,
it was Villa, wasn't it?
We sent them down at Villa Park. So I'm hoping that we're down before that, so they can't revel in their revenge.
Tell you what, Newcastle going down was probably like the worst scenario for Villa. Because Villa, if they're looking to rebound straight back up, Newcastle are probably the team best equipped to bounce back up. Maybe Palace as well.
Just to clarify that, by the way, but by the 7th of May, you will definitely be down. there won't be this sort of... It won't be like a big game between you and Newcastle. If Newcastle win, Villa will be down. I'm thinking by United on the 16th, you'll be
I've got this
gone.
really sad image in my head of Keno in his bedroom. He's got like a wall chart of the fixtures, and every day he fills... every weekend he fills in the Villa result for the week with a little felt tip pen.
Back in October, I was looking at that flow chart and was quite positive.
That first win against Bournemouth on the ascent, top 4, here we come.
All I'll say, Keno, is you've got 7 games left. If you win 4 of them, you'll be level on points with Norwich. I mean,
the issue is as well, Norwich play Sunderland and Newcastle, so those teams are guaranteed to be on more points than they are right now. Like, there isn't even a hope.
Actually, yes, that's very true. In fact, Kiddo, you're going to have to win 5 if you want a chance. So you are going to have to beat one of Arsenal, Man United, and Chelsea.
It's all very hopeful.
You do have 4 home games though. It's very funny, Callum. Don't worry about it. Although you do play Bournemouth soon, and you won that game, so. Maybe you could do the double.
Make
over
some
there.
sandcastles with them on the pitch.
They're on the beach as well.
They are on the beach, so they're coming to you, so they won't be on the beach on that occasion.
They'll bring some sand with them.
Is there any other games that we need to violently cover? I mean, City lost, and their title dream is now gone.
Dead.
I would say.
15
points behind.
1 point ahead of West Ham, and since it was announced that Guardiola would be taking over, City have lost more games than they've won in the Premier League.
Did we get a question about this that we can potentially throw to? Is that possible?
I've not read the questions this week.
You did the questions this week, Ben.
Okay, the question from Tom Williams. Why do you think City have done so poor against top sides this year? Which is very true, they have done. And I think they've won 1 against the top 6.
They've won none. None at all.
None? Is it none really?
They've not won.
Do you think the players don't care as Pep's coming in? That's an interesting way to look at it. Are the players sort of just giving up for the sake of giving up?
It's a really interesting sort of stat, what's happened to City this year in that regard, because obviously they've played many of the top 6 teams before the Guardiola announcement, so I wouldn't really put it down just to that. I feel there's a sense of complacency that you get from this squad in many matches, and I can't really put my finger on when it happens, because they sometimes slip up against the smaller teams, lest we forget, away from home quite often, where your Torres just don't want to be there, and Aguero isn't firing. I think this squad that they've had for the last 3 or 4 years, you think of the sort of Company, Torre, Silva, Aguero kind of spine. I think their time is running out, really, and I think many will depart in the summer, and that lack of motivation has been one of the main things that's held them back in the big games against teams. But it's crazy that they haven't won against any of those teams all year, including Leicester and Spurs, and also West Ham, which of course they haven't.
This leads on something, Jack. We'll come to you. Brian Gendo asked on the Twitter, will Guardiola still join City if they don't make the Champions League next season? There's rumours that Guardiola has a get out if City don't finish in the top 4. Because no one actually knows the truth on this, it's difficult to talk about it. But Guardiola doesn't want to join a Europa League side.
Part of me thinks he might relish that. Like, it's an opportunity. Like, it can't get worse. I almost feel like actually inheriting a City who have finished 5th perhaps has less pressure than if you inherit a team who scrapes 4th. Because I think if you get 4th, you're suddenly like juggling expectations. I mean, for all we know, they could win the Champions League and get a spot that way and finish 5th.
I totally agree. I think that when he signed, or he's sort of announced that he's signing for City, a lot of people would say that, he's taken another easy job. But in fact, and we probably mentioned this before when we were talking about the appointment, it's not an easy job at all. That squad needs sort of wholesale reconstruction. And whether they are in the Champions League or not, I don't really think affects what Guardiola is going in, at least next season, to do. He's got to turn round an ageing complacent, overpaid squad. They have a lot of young players coming through. They spend millions and millions of pounds on their academy, which I think we will start to see the fruits of under Guardiola. So I think next year, whether or not they're in the Champions League doesn't really matter to what he is immediately going to have to focus on.
Yeah.
Now,
City
they just want to get him.
City have had an awful season.
Yeah.
Just generally. It's not a good season at all. Fourth, they're going to finish, at best now, you might say, they're going to finish fourth in the league. They've had, we talked about Benfica and Wolfsburg having relatively comfortable routes to their sort of point at the Champions League. City, you could argue, in a group with Sevilla and Gladbach, decent sides by their own right. Okay, Sevilla, one of the better teams in the Europa League now. They top the group a bit again. Had Juve in it, so they've done relatively well there. But I don't know. I feel like they're one of the easiest last 16 draws, didn't they? And now they're in the last eight of the Champions League, and they've had a terrible time in the league by their standards.
They're very fortunate in the sense that they've not lost a load of games in a row. It's kind of been just inconsistent and patchy, especially of late. But also the fact Chelsea have had such a bad year has kind of meant that they've gone under the radar a little bit. You know, the pundits aren't talking about it so much. Yeah. At the start of the year, you probably would have said City and Chelsea fighting for the title. I mean, it's looking very like, that Leicester or Spurs are going to win the league. Like, if you were to tell any of those, if you were to tell the team who finishes second there, you were going to finish above Arsenal, City, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, you think you've won the league.
Did you see the Reddit thing about this?
I didn't know. I haven't seen the Reddit thing about it.
So basically, on whoever wins the league at Leicester and Tottenham, the team that finishes second will be the first team for, I think it's 30 years, to finish above Arsenal, City, United, Liverpool and Chelsea and not win the league.
I mean, that's mad, isn't it?
That is crazy.
So whichever one doesn't, assuming they finish second, and Leicester or Tottenham win the league.
Can we just go? I've just realised we missed something that happened earlier, and we do need to talk about it. Rafa Benitez, Newcastle.
We have.
No, we didn't talk about him when he was appointed.
Oh, he's been appointed, Ben?
Has he?
What? Do you want to talk about Benitez?
Sorry, hang on. What?
Are you sure, Jack? No, I'm playing the part.
We missed it. Last week's podcast was recorded before.
Of course we have. I know.
We didn't talk about it. I feel like everyone else might have.
Well, I thought it's something worth talking about because it's a managerial change down at the bottom.
I agree. We'll touch on it.
Keno said it very sarcastically. We didn't talk about it last time because you were saying there's more chance of him going to the Villa.
I know.
Than to Newcastle. That worked out well, didn't it?
Actually,
I was actually talking about David Moyes, but
to be fair, you got a point. I said that there was no way that Rafa Benitez would take this Newcastle job. I'm still shocked he's taken it. Will he keep them up? I mean, he's never been in this sort of situation before. So I mean, and if he has, it hasn't been for 10 years at least.
I think it would be excellent to have a sort of Benitez Moyes duel in the Championship next season when David Moyes takes over at the Villa, and him.
Do you think Moyes will take
over?
Do you think
Benitez will stay at Newcastle?
I mean, this is another question which we could stay on, but I think that
we're not staying on it. Let me tell you.
Yeah, Moyes' stock has never been lower, arguably. Having failed at Sociedad, if he'd made something of that job, he could have maybe come back like McLaren has, and we will probably be, depending on who comes down, we'll probably be favourites to win the Championship, bookies' terms. So, and I think he would probably take it, considering the resources that he'd have and the fact that not many Premier League clubs are going to want him.
Okay. I think this is as ridiculous as Jack saying City will get into the Champions League final, but we'll see.
Percentage on
Shall we go to viewer questions? I feel like there were other Premier League games this week, but there weren't really.
We've already had some, haven't we?
Wasn't that much to cover. Should we go through the listener questions? Do you want me to do it?
So a milk-related question on
go
my
for
phone.
It. Yep, go on.
Can we have that one?
We'll do that so far. Completely Chaz FM has asked manager of the season so far.
I mean, it's got to be
Bilic.
Bilic, I think Bilic is good. Ranieri's up there, Pochettino's up there, but I think Bilic has done a good job as well.
Yeah, Ranieri's going to win it. I haven't even considered that. Ranieri is going to win it. I hate to be the boring guy.
It's not even a competition.
Jack's so opposed to Leicester, he went straight in Bilic.
Although I think, obviously, and this sort of goes for the league as well, I think while Leicester are on this incredible fairy tale, and Ranieri will obviously win it, I think what Pochettino has done at Spurs in this just under 2 years has been incredible. Nothing short of that.
shout to Eddie Howe as well. Not many people
definitely.
were back in Bournemouth. Can I just quickly reenact how Jack said that? Can you ask me which manager I think's gonna win the league, and I'll reenact how Jack answered this.
So Ben, which manager do you think? Oh,
It was that quick. He was so quick. I liked it. Are you saying Ranieri though, Jack? Are you backing out on that one?
No, Ranieri is going to win it 100%.
yeah.
Like 100%. Thank you. That's our first 100% from the space today. We had a question about Henderson as Liverpool captain, which we're gonna avoid. But I do appreciate your question.
No.
Should Danny Drinkwater get a game for England versus Germany? I mean,
There's no point. There's
right?
no point in taking power for friendlies if you're not even going to give them a chance on the pitch.
I agree. Get him in the team. I say.
Well, who would you play in the middle then?
I'd probably play him next to. I think he will play him next to Henderson and Lallana.
Well, see, I'm not. I mean, we talk about picking players on form. I've not been convinced with Henderson since he's come back. I don't know about you, and I know there was the question.
He's come back and he's playing a new role essentially.
Well, yeah, I feel as though
he's playing far more passive now than he ever did before.
I feel as though Chan has sort of taken over that all-action role that he used to have a little bit, and it is taking a while to adjust. It might actually be better for England that he's adjusting like that because we can put slightly more attacking players around him if he's getting used to that.
Do you think that the England squad should be picked off form? Because I saw a lot of people talking about Noble should be in over Henderson, and I can almost agree with that sentiment. I think you look at someone like Jordan Henderson, younger, has been a staple of the England team for a few years. The fact he's been injured for a long time,
that's not a reason he should be.
Kind of few months. I don't think that's a reason to drop him from the international side.
Equally, though,
the counter.
Go on, Ben.
I think the counter argument to the point that you should put Noble in ahead of Henderson is, what was the point of bringing Henderson through all the way through the under-21s to get him into the England team and then give him a few years if you're just going to drop him for friendlies 3 months before an international tournament
against a team like Germany as well?
Against quality opposition in Germany, and obviously the Dutch didn't qualify, but they've still got some good players within that team. I think that's a far stronger argument than saying, Noble's not played internationally before. That kind of doesn't play a role. Actually, what matters is that Henderson's been almost bred for the England team as it is right now, and that's why he should continue to get called up. If after a year he's not played well, having 3 months where you've been a bit iffy is different from having a year where you've fallen off the map essentially. For example, if Jack Rodwell had been on the same path as Henderson and then had the season he's had now, you'd say he shouldn't be anywhere near the England team, and rightly so. Henderson has had 3 or 4 very good seasons for Liverpool, so to drop him after 3 iffy months would be a silly thing to do. That said, Mark Noble is unlucky not to get into the England team, but I'm unsurprised that he's not in the England team.
He is. I think just quickly following on from that, you've pretty much summed it up. I think that Drinkwater fills a slightly different role than Noble does. I feel like Noble, unfortunately for him, like you say, is the similar type of player to Henderson. And while Henderson's there, and Liverpool captain, future England captain, as bad as it is, that is. He is in front of Noble in that particular role in the pecking order. It would be interesting to see Drinkwater alongside him because I think that those two could be quite a sort of dynamic midfield. And Drinkwater, I mean, Jack mentioned age. He's not particularly old, and he could, depending on how he continues to play for Leicester, sort of cement his place. I know, interestingly, Conte has also been called up for the first time for France, so it's good to see both of those two midfielders get their international recognition.
Mm. Yeah, I thought, Jack, is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that's covered it quite nicely.
Okay.
That's a rare one from Jack there. No.
I know. I'm 100% agreeing with your answers. Hang on, we'll skip that one. Who will be promoted from the Championship? I mean, do we have any thoughts on this? Middlesbrough are trying to throw it away a little bit. I feel like we should touch on the Championship very briefly.
I haven't watched or followed that much of the Championship. I looked at the table a few weeks ago now, and I was just like, I should be watching this.
Yeah, it's quite at the top. It's quite interesting.
It's always incredibly exciting.
It's not as close as some previous seasons. Burnley currently top by 4 points. Brighton not far behind. About 6 or 7 games left to go in the Championship, and it's sort of the automatic spots are really between that top 3.
I'm just relieved, that Burnley are going to get promoted because we're going to still have a Clarent team in the Premier League when Villa go down.
You've got West Ham.
That's the biggest relief here, I think.
West Ham, because I mean. In the Football League, because Villa might, if it goes badly for Villa, Jack, there might not even be a team.
We'll be with Scunthorpe.
Yeah,
Boston. Boston, if you're lucky.
I mean, West Ham fans are going, what do you mean, Jack?
Yeah, but they're not going to get relegated, as Jack said.
Well, no, but there will still be a Premier League team with claret and blue. Sorry if I wrecked you
about the
there.
hammers.
I tried to bail Jack out.
Question for Keno from Josh at FM Pivot has said, is there even a point in sacking Remy Gard before the end of the season?
No, and I don't know why everyone's...
Josh, they won't be getting any points.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
There's literally no point.
It's really stupid because, I mean, anyone who kind of like continues to just pound Gard.
Can we say at this point that Gard's appointment wasn't a good one? Like,
you'd be better off with Sherwood.
It was
as much as you can go. Oh, he's had a tough job and stuff. There's most teams at the bottom of the Premier League. There's like a game or two where you have a little bit of belief. Maybe they can do it.
Oh no, I totally agree. And I'm not defending him for a second. I think that if there's one thing that I would say, it's that the board cut the entire team adrift at the end of January by not refusing to back him in the transfer market. I think if he'd have been able to bring in players, we brought no one in. If he'd have been able to bring in players, there might have been a slight boost in morale, but and in terms of quality, and we might have seen a few results come of that. But the way that he'd been treated by many of the members of the board, who it's important to say are no longer there, we've got rid of Tom Fox. There's been a lot of changes actually at the Villa in terms of the backroom, because the director of football, quote unquote, Henrik Armstead, has gone, and obviously Tom Fox, the chief executive, much maligned Tom Fox, is gone, and I'm glad to see that happen. And we'll probably appoint a new one of those in the summer. Brian Little, past Villa legend, has been brought in alongside Mervyn King on the board. So we are making changes in that regard. I think that has been the problem that has sort of basically screwed over any chances that we had of staying up. Now changes have been made there, it would be difficult to see. In answer to the question, I agree that there's no point getting rid of him. Personally, I'm not sure in the current state of affairs that many Villa fans would agree with me. I'd like to see him be given a pre-season and have a chance to rebuild the squad with this new board in his sort of in his image that he sees fit.
I'm just looking at the result. I just sort of jokingly said he'd be better for Sherwood. Actually, that's not true at all, because I'm looking at it. It's amazing he wasn't backed. I'm looking at your fixtures from, say, December the 19th, right? 2 draws, then you lost 2 in a row, win another 2 draws, and then from that point you weren't backed. You actually went, out of those 6 games, you only lost 2 of them. And in the context of Villa season, having, in 7 games, sorry. In 7 games you lost 2, you drew 4 and won 1. Comparatively to your season, that's a purple patch, Keno.
And that was why, I mean, you can go back to previous shows, that was why I was so angry directly after January, and many Villa fans were, because it was not so much the players or Gard that gave up, the board and the chairman and the CEO gave up on any chance that we had of staying in the Premier League. And considering Leicester were in just as bad a position as us at this time last year, they were on pretty much the same points, I think we mentioned it, and maybe 1 or 2 difference, to give up that early totally got rid of any chance. It was a disgrace that happened,
but do you not
and it's a good job that...
I mean, would you rather...
Was it sensible? Or
that's what I was about to say. Like, would you rather be a team who goes down to the Championship and bounces back like a lot of teams have done in recent years, or do you want to be a Pompey? Do you want to be a Sheffield United, a team who fall from grace? They make some not particularly wise transfers in January, kind of roll the dice a lot, and don't get the results they wanted.
The problem is, I agree with that you've got to be careful of what you do in January. Obviously, we've seen QPR, but to have not a loan deal, not a rumour of any player. I mean, obviously we were chasing Debussy, we were also chasing a goalkeeper that I forget the name of from France.
I mean, the question is, who would want to go to Villa in that situation too?
Oh yeah, but you say that, but there are many, as we've seen in previous years, there are many ways that you can get players to come to the Premier League, to England, to be put in the shop window, to play for 6 months, and to try and keep teams up on a loan deal or on a Bosman. Not a shred of activity was done by the board in January. So
Zlatan gets what Zlatan wants, and he clearly didn't want that move. He's waiting 10 years time. That's the problem we've got. I can't believe we've given Villa that much chat there, Jack. Can you believe
I want to talk about Burnley.
The listener asked a question.
About the Championship, topical, I guess. Talking about Villa for that.
I'm going to quickly finish on Villa. That I think that you'll know a lot more about how good the decision was in January based on what they do this summer.
Yeah,
and you might be come September.
Keno actually thinks she's implying they might stay up now.
No, I don't agree with
Newcastle. It's the Newcastle game.
I mean, I wouldn't sack him though.
We're going to do 3 or 4 more questions very quickly. Thank you. We had loads of questions this week. Thank you for your questions. Joe Moon asked, what would you do if you were Palace? Keep Pards and can you get dragged into the dogfight, or have a change now and hope to avoid? Very interesting, considering Palace are sliding at a rate of knots. I guess I only want one more answer because we'll go through this quickly. Would you sack Pardew right now, Keno? Yes or no?
Can Jack go first with the one word because I want to make it 10?
Okay, Jack. Do you think Pardew should go, or is
6
it partly
words.
who they would bring?
I would have done 5 games ago.
Okay, Keno.
Was that 6 words? I would have.
I mean, whatever. It's fine.
It was. That was very swift from Jack.
For God's sake, spit it out.
He made a good point that they picked up slightly in the way they were playing last game.
There's your 10 words.
I wouldn't get rid of him.
Could any of the BPL teams actually win anything in any of the foreign leagues? So I guess we're kind of talking. Is there a Premier League team right now? I want yes or no's. Okay, this is how we're answering this question. Quick fire. It's almost like a feature. Keno, could any Premier League team win League One?
No.
League One. Jack.
On their day.
Right now. No, right now. Could any team in the Premier League
absolutely
win League One?
I'll say no, but if Man City beat PSG, then it's a yes.
And I think there's no way that they're winning the Bundesliga or La Liga or Serie A based on your answer for Liga. And that's why I went with that one first. Shall we go for one more? Okay, good question. We'll finish with this one actually. Again, thank you for all your questions. We're going to finish with a question from Lewis on Twitter, who said, "Where do you think Leicester will finish next season?"
That's a really good question.
Yeah, where do you think they'll finish next season? I'm going to come out straight away and say I think they'll finish 7th.
I mean, I would like to say something. I want to say it.
Relegated?
No. I think they'll finish 13th.
I think you'll say back to back.
That would have been brave, wouldn't it? I just think you see it a lot with teams like Swansea and Hull, teams who scrape into the Europa League. And I don't want to say Leicester have been lucky this year, but I think they have been the beneficiary of a perfect storm. And I do wonder if a longer European season is going to be. Every week. No, I think it's just realistic. Yeah.
If you're a Leicester fan and you listen to this show, we probably don't have many Leicester-based listeners, do we? Because we've not been very nice.
After last week's deal or no deal.
I'd like to think, in giving some case-based examples, that there is reason to believe they probably will finish outside of Europe next year, and I think they might struggle.
As Jack said,
it's a fair answer.
No. As he's right. I think the problem is that there's no precedent for this, so you can't really make a sort of logic-based prediction on where they might go. I think, and if you're sort of talking about those teams, I think it'd be more like Southampton in the sense that they'll probably strengthen in the summer with the money. They'll probably be able to attract more players with the champ. Yeah, they will lose Mahrez, I think, and but they'll probably be able to attract players being in the Champions League. But I think it'll be sort of a Southampton in the sense that they'll kind of level out around that sort of 10th to 7th sort of thing.
I'm massively looking forward to Ranieri signing loads of Serie A rejects.
And I actually
so
think...
excited.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think that Ranieri may... And we saw it with Martinez at Everton. Once you get further away from that previous manager's sort of good defence and the solidity, because that is Pearson's defence. Obviously, he signed Fuchs, but... And once you get further away from that period in time where they were all really organised, then the current manager, his limitations are more exposed. So we could see maybe Ranieri struggles a little bit more.
Controversial prediction. I don't actually think this will happen, but I'm just.
Oh no, I know what you're going to say.
No, you can't. That's Jack's gone there. Can I make a controversial
prediction?
Okay,
it's something I think could happen. I don't think it will happen. I think Ranieri might retire at the end of the year. 65 years old.
If he wins the league, I'd quite like that.
I feel like wins the league.
Who takes over?
Nigel Pearson again. I'd
really like it.
Come through the door.
I'd like Ranieri to win the league at Stamford Bridge, take the trophy, and walk off into the sunset.
I just never. Like a film. Then the film could be done about Leicester.
I don't want him to walk off. I want him to literally step onto the Thames, onto a boat. Goes down the Thames with his Premier League trophy, and then we never see him again.
Like Lord of the Rings.
They are talking about doing a film on Leicester. I feel like it would be the most potent ending. The directors come to Ranieri after he's won the league. Like, can you resign now?
Jack, you don't know when to finish, do you?
Hashtag narrative. Right, let's bring this podcast to an end. I think it's been good. I think if this is your first podcast you ever listened to,
it's a bumper edition.
Yeah, we usually just cover the Premier League, but we went into Europe this time for a change. So we'll split the podcast up into sort of sections. And I'm going to quickly say now, boys, because this is a little secret for you. I am going to put this on my YouTube channel.
Hello, YouTube.
It's just about good enough. So what I'm going to do is try and timestamp different bits.
That's a good idea.
I'm not entirely sure when it's going to go onto YouTube in the next couple of days, but yeah, I'm going to see if more people can have a listen and find out about For the Fans. If you have enjoyed it, we do have a YouTube channel, we have a Twitter account as well, and if you want any of the sort of the direct links, ForTheFansShow.com is where you can find them. Is there anything else we need to cover there, boys?
I don't think so. I think we probably will cover more of Europe, I think, in the future. But as it's about our first year, we've sort of been trying to keep it on Premier League.
It's
but
mine and Ben's
there's more to
second
come.
year. Does the World Cup count as a year?
No. I mean, Euro's coming up. I'm excited for those dailies.
I am excited for that.
I feel like dailies and reasonable twice a week.
We'll see. Right, that brings us to the end. Jack, thank you.
No worries. I mean, I butchered the intro, so now I feel bad what's going on.
That's all right. And Keno, thanks again for being here.
No problem. Good evening.
We'll see you again soon. We love with care from Dr. Benji. And us at For the Fans, we'll see you again soon. #percentages.
Keno, I think you're going to have to be calling for an oxygen mask over here, my friend.